Rob from the Internet talks about beer. Every episode will showcase a beer style, discussing its history, its makeup, and flavor profile. We'll also give our opinions on the style and give a good example of that style.
Hello and welcome to Rob from the Internet Talks About Beer, a show where we discuss different styles of beer, a little bit about their history, and their flavor profiles. I'm Rob from the Internet. Let's talk about beer. All right, since this is our first show, I'd like to say a little bit about what this show will be and what this show won't be. My intent is to give lighthearted reviews of different styles of beer and give viewers a little bit of history about that style. This will not be a technical show by any means. This is a show that will try to relate beer styles to people in everyday terms. My hope is that it'll inspire people to try different styles of beer. So whenever possible, my guests and I will have the same beer so we can compare and contrast to show that even if two people drink the same beer, they might have a different experience with it. When it's not possible to have the same beer, my guest and I will have the same style of beer so that we have a common frame of reference when we're having our discussion. All right, having said that, let's talk about some beer. Joining me today is Andrew Henry, a brewer with Royal City Brewing Company. If you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, Andrew.
My name is Andrew. I brew for Royal City Brewing Company, as you said. I've been brewing I've been in the industry for 30 years. I've brewed at 7 different breweries over the years, mostly in Ontario, but also one in British Columbia. And I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. As you can see, I'm very handsome.
Got that COVID hair going on?
What? I shaved and got myself ready for this.
You notice I'm wearing a hat today because I also have COVID hair going on. If I take my hat off, it looks like there's a mushroom sitting on my head because it's nice and big and poofy. All right.
I do not have COVID hair going on. This is
this is just your everyday hair. Gotcha. I gotcha.
This is actually my friends will tell you that I'm cleaned up pretty good for this.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about a session IPA, correct?
Yes.
All right. So today's beer is a session IPA. For people who don't understand, can you explain what session means when it comes to beer?
Well, I don't know if I can explain that, but I can give you my best shot.
Give us your best shot. If not, I have a little blurb that I picked off of Wikipedia.
As far as I can tell, session has kind of replaced the word light.
Exactly.
And then I find it a far better word than light. I really hate the word light in naming beers. I'm not a huge fan of the word session myself, but I like it far more than light. So yeah, I think that's it's sessionable.
Exactly.
Hard word to say. The more drinking you've done is a hard word to say.
This is true. After 4 or 5 sessionable beers, they become sessionable beers.
Oh.
Yeah. So session from my terminology and what the official definition are pretty similar. So less alcohol, which may or may not be a good thing depending on your point of view. Modern.
And what do you want to do?
Yeah. Modern session IPAs tend to fall below 5%, although historically the style is supposed to be around 4.5% or so. So today's session IPAs are actually more in line alcohol level as with traditional IPAs. With the lower alcohol comes a thinner body. So these are the type of beers that you can drink on repeat or as I call them, they're the type of beers that you can sit on the patio and pound all day. So it's a patio pounder.
That's what I'm doing right now.
I will be joining you shortly. So, in terms
I
of,
gotta say, can I break in for a second?
sure.
When you say historically speaking, session IPAs have been something. This is a phrase that's been around for 5 or 6 years.
No. What I meant to say, what I was trying to convey was that traditionally IPAs themselves.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Traditional IPAs were only around 4.5% to 5%. So calling today's session IPAs, they're more in line with what the traditional IPA alcohol content was.
Okay.
Despite what popular legend and myth would have you think that IPAs have always been heavy on the alcohol, they haven't been. Traditional IPAs were always 5% or less. They were just really hoppy because they had lots of hops in them.
It's true, but it's true. That opens a whole other conversation we could have. About. I realize that way in the waybacks, traditional IPAs, were far lower than are perceived, or are popularly perceived to be. But then the argument is made to, there's another argument that kind of society, like things evolve and society. Well, when IPAs started coming back, they were considered to be, high alcohol, not high alcohol, medium high alcohol, right? Like 6.5. And I kind of wonder if, who cares what it happened in the way back? What matters is what the public perceives.
This is true.
But anyway, that's a different episode. Right?
That's a whole nother show. Yeah, that's a whole nother show. Yeah. All right. So typically, let me back up a little bit. What style of IPA is this, other than being session? Does it lean more towards a British IPA, or does this one lean more towards like a West Coast IPA, or does it lean more towards like the East Coast IPAs, where it's the heavy fruit flavors and less bitter? Tell me a little bit about the beer we're going to be drinking today.
Well, I don't really get a lot of fruit out of this. To me, this is a more traditional beer.
Okay.
It's kind of my palate is awful. I'm not going to be able to tell you with my descriptors here.
Oh, that's fine.
But it's a nice crisp, bitter, and quite bitter compared to. Well, not quite bitter compared to other sessionable IPAs, but I actually mostly drink pale ales, and this is to me is a very bitter pale ale. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's it's not 6% or 6.5%. It's I don't know 4.9 or like you probably got a can. I got a can in front of me.
Yeah, so I still actually have to grab my can. It's in the fridge behind me. So why don't I do that? Yeah, why don't I do that right now?
Okay.
All right. So yes, it's 4.5%. For anybody who's interested, here's what the can looks like. It's a lovely kind of orangish color. It says Royal City Exhibition Session IPA on it. All
It's
right.
a very orangish color.
Well, we don't use absolutes anymore. It's an orangish color.
Can you get more orange than this?
Oh, I mean, it's not quite pumpkin orange.
Not more orange.
All right, so it's got a really light aroma. It's not like punching me in the nose.
No.
It smells a little bit tropical. Not like super tropical like you get with the New England style IPAs. Oh, that is bitter. you get it right away. It's not one of those that you get on the back end. You get it right away when
No,
you start when you start drinking it.
yeah.
It's quite nice though. It is similar in profile. I would say it is more similar in profile to a traditional British IPA in the amount of bitterness that it has and where it gets you, as opposed to some of the more modern IPAs where you'll get a lot of the piney and the hoppiness right up front, but then you get bitter on the back end or more towards the middle in the back. Whereas this, it's just like right when you drink it, it's like, oh, here I am, I'm bitter.
Yeah, that's what this beer is about. But but on the in the like, it's not a hop bomb. Like, you remember hop bombs? You know, where
Yes. Oh, believe me, yes.
I do find that this beer is supported by, you know, it's the bitterness is supported by the maltiness. You know, there is a malty backbone there. It's not huge, you know. But I find this to be a fairly balanced beer.
Yeah, it is. It's fairly balanced. So it's not, you know, there was a while there where I could say with all impunity that I hated IPAs for the longest time because everybody was trying to out hop and out bitter each other, and I couldn't stand it. You know, give me a solidly balanced beer that's got a nice malt backbone with that bitterness in it, and I'll drink it all day long, and I'll enjoy it. But you start getting to where, I mean, it got to a point to where I felt like they were just trying to see how bitter and how unpalatable they could make beers before people stopped drinking them. I mean, that's the way I felt.
What was fun about it at first was seeing all the different hops being used. For instance, like I can remember when what was it? The Spearhead Hawaiian.
Kahuna. Right?
Is that what it's called? I think it was just Spearhead Hawaiian.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the barrel aged one was called Big Kahuna, I think is what it was.
And when that first came out, I remember that being served at my local, and you know, that was like a big kind of, it was kind of a hop bomb, but at the time, but it was just fun seeing new hops being used in these kind of traditional recipes, and so that was happening at first. You know, they'd take the traditional kind of IPA recipe or whatever recipe and put different hops or try different things. But then it went too far.
Yes.
But stuff like that was really fun. It was really fun to watch people playing with tradition.
Yeah. And then, like you said, they went too far. You know, they pondered whether or not they could, not whether or not they should.
Yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
That's right. So, how long have you been with Royal City? Did you say earlier and I missed it?
I did not. I've been with Royal City about 3 years now, maybe 3.5 years.
Yeah. Now,
and I love Royal City. Royal City for me is amazing because I can walk there.
You can stumble home.
Well, exactly. It's actually been important for all the breweries I've worked at. I hate driving to work because I work at a brewery, right? Like, I don't want to drive home. I shouldn't drive home. There was one brewery I worked at where sometimes it was really hard to get to, and I had to drive sometimes, and that sucked because after work you want to sit around and have a beer or two with your coworkers. So I've been quite blessed in a lot of my breweries that I've been able to either walk or bike to, and it's good for you, and it's good for the environment.
I was going to say, what's good for you? Working at a brewery or not having to drive? But then, yeah.
Walking and biking and drinking.
And drinking. That's right. So, how did you get into beer? How did you get into craft brewing and becoming a brewer?
Nepotism.
Always the best way in.
I was 19, and I needed a job. I was in college, but I wasn't going to be going back to college. I that's a different story. And I needed a job, so this gets a little cluttered here. But the son of my godfather was one of the co-founders of Upper Canada Brewing Company. I don't know if do you know Upper Canada Brewing Company?
I have to say I do not. I mean, I am a transplant. I've only been in
I
Canada
know,
for
yeah.
3 years, so.
Well, you're new and you probably don't even have any Rush records, do you?
I come on now. I had one. I had
Huh?
one Rush record when I was in high school, but they've never been my favorite band. No,
Well,
sorry.
I know they're not your favorite band, but you got to have one in your collection if you're going to live here. Just one.
I was actually, believe it or not, I'm originally from Illinois, and the Tragically Hip actually has a bit of a following in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. So I actually knew who the Tragically Hip was when I was in junior high and high school. And while my other friends who were more into the more traditional rock were the Rush fans, I've always been more of that kind of alternative sound type thing, and I was listening to the Hip with the other emo kids from theater group.
That's so funny, man. That the Hip are like kind of alternative, because I like the town I grew up in is Belleville, which is right next
Yep.
to Kingston, which is
Yep.
where the Hip
Where
are from.
they're from, yeah. Yeah.
In my I saw the Hip very very early, and I've all like the Hip are great. That's just obvious. But when growing up, a lot of people in my town, and I'm a musician as well. I'm sorry, I'm a drummer as well.
You just bang on things, right? I got it.
Um, a lot of the other musicians in my town, and we're like teenagers. When I say musicians, I mean like kids.
Right.
They're like, the Tragically Hip. They're just like a rock band. What do they do that's interesting? They're just playing like a few chords, and they're not doing anything interesting. They're just playing rock, and I'm like, yeah. Isn't that what we like? Don't we like rock music? I thought we were a rock band.
Hey.
They seem to be really good at it. I really like them. So, yeah, I mean, you'll get a pass. You get a pass there with your Tragically Hip early fandom there.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what was I saying? Edit. I got a job at the retail store at Upper Canada. And actually not at the retail store. I was hired as a gardener at Upper Canada Brewing Company. And I had no idea. I still, like, my thumbs, look how white those thumbs are. There's no green thumbs there. I am not a gardener. And that became very obvious after one day. And so they put me into the retail store, where one of my jobs was to work the hospitality bar. In my very first day in the retail store, I was reminded that I was supposed to drink with the guests. I have never been that drunk at work before or after in my life. Like, I remember stumbling out of Upper Canada that day, trying to like remain upright, because it's my first day in the store. I didn't want to look
unprofessional.
And I was trying so hard to stay upright going out, and they're like, "Bye, Andrew," and I'm like, "Bye," And that was my job for a couple of weeks, was to drink with the customers. And eventually they said, "Andrew, it's not really working out." Not because of the drinking, but at the time I had very long hair, and it just didn't fit with the retail vibe. I wasn't a young, attractive woman.
Right, right.
So, so they actually said, "We're sorry, we're going to have to either let you go, or we're going to have to put you into production." And I'm like, "Production, where I get paid like way more? Yeah, I'll take production." So I did a few years, like on the bottle line and whatnot, and then eventually at Upper Canada, I was like a filler operator.
Nice.
And so I didn't actually do any brewing at Upper Canada. It was all bottle line, and that was for about 4 years. But that's how I got into the brewing world.
Nice.
And working at Upper Canada was a lot of fun. It was a company that enjoyed its parties and its public social events. So as a 19-year-old, all of a sudden I was going to cigar parties, and stuff. I had a pretty good education. I don't know. I don't know if you heard that. My phone just went off.
No,
But,
you just said I had a pretty good education, and then you went.
it was my text. My
Oh.
text education went off. So I had a pretty good education of like fine cigars and fine scotches and good beers when I was pretty young. So that was fun. That's how I got into
Nice.
the industry. But back then there were no. Like when I started at Upper Canada, there was no pale ales or India pale ales, and this,
There was beer.
there was beer. Yeah. We had like a lager and a light lager and dark ale. That was he's got a dark ale. And in the wintertime, we had a Bock. Eventually, Upper Canada had a big lineup, and we did have a pale ale, but it wasn't good. I remember that the beers that we drink now, like this one, tastes so good. But in memory, the beers that I drank then tasted like they do now, but they
really didn't. Yeah.
They were not near as good as the beers we're drinking now. And that's because there was way more I don't know why, but possibly because there's way more competition now. We got Upper Canada didn't really have anyone to compete against. I think I'm always trying to remember how many breweries there were when I started. And I can't remember exactly. In Ontario, I don't mean in the world. It was like 6 or 7, or it was under 10 when I started. And we were discussing this like the other day, right? Like it was now like 430 or something.
Yeah. It's I think it was it 4? I think it was 492. I think is what the number was for Ontario. So which is it's a fair number of craft breweries.
And I gotta say, and that's awesome. The worst thing about that is that my staff beer has gone down and down and down. The more competition there is, the more you can't spare any of your beer, right? Profit. I understand that. It's business. I get that. But still, personally, on my level, every brewery gives its members, its employees, staff beer. And when I started out, I was getting a 2-4 a week. And I don't get a 2-4 a week now. I'm very well. They keep me in beer, but it's nowhere near the.
It's nowhere near the soaking in beer levels that you had. Yes.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes. So this beer, how long has Royal City been making this beer?
Oh, this beer from day one.
Okay, so it's a staple for them then. It's been around forever. Okay.
Now this beer has changed a lot from day one. It's gotten a lot better. Some of the and I'm not going to go into all of it. You'll have to interview Marky to get the particulars of the cellar work. But it's gone through a lot of changes process-wise as well from the beginning. It's been worked on. It tastes. I liked it at the beginning, but it wasn't like amazing or anything. And when I first tasted it, I wasn't working there. It was from a Royal City was another brewery that I didn't work at. But when I first had it, I liked it, but it wasn't like it didn't find my way into the fridge tons of times. But I liked it. But over the years, it's gotten better and better. And then I started working there, and so I started drinking it just naturally more. And now it's gotten to it's actually gotten to the point where it is my favorite beer that I've ever made. And I tried to figure out how many beers I've made the other day, and
Unfathomable number of beers.
yeah, it was because I can't. There's so many of them I can't remember. Like I've made beers that I never drank. You know, they were like small batches, and they went out to some festival and got drank. And I never like I had it. I drank it while it was being made, and I tested it while it was being fermented. You know, whatever. But then it was finished and it's gone. You know, it. When I worked at Stonehammer, me and Georgie, we made a lot of beers that small batch beers that just I never even tasted, but I made them.
That's a crying shame, is what that is. All
But
right.
of all the beers I've ever made, this is favorite. This is
Well,
this
that's got to be saying something then. All right. So, other than this one, can you get?
there are others.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of another beer in this same style that you really enjoy?
Yeah, I absolutely can, and I wish I had some with me as I look around.
Yeah. Do I have any? Do I have any?
Are they sneaking up on me? What's it called? Switchboard, Muddy York.
Muddy York.
Have you
Yeah.
had that?
I have
Yeah.
not had that, but though I've had several of Muddy York's beers, and I haven't found one that they make that's bad. Might be something
Yeah,
I don't, there might be something I don't particularly care for as a style, but they did, I haven't had a beer of theirs that's bad.
Yeah, me too. But the switchboard comes in a cute little can. I think it's like purple, and it's got like a switchboard operator girl on it. And it's the same kind of thing. It's like a sessionable IPA. It's a sessionable IPA. And it's delicious. It's really good. I would recommend that to anyone.
Yeah. Well, and that actually tied into the next my next thing that I normally do is give a shout out to a brewery that we think does this style well. And I think you just did that, saying Muddy York with their switchboard. I honestly I don't have a big frame of reference for IPAs, though. I can say that I've had a couple from Stonehooker, and I've had a couple from Nickelbrook that have both been really good. I don't have a specific example because, like I said, it's not my go-to style. My go-to style happens to be things like ESBs, porters, and stouts. I like the super malt heavy beers. That's my wheelhouse.
I do. I'm a traditionalist. I like stout. I like to drink stout in the winter.
I drink stout year round. I actually have.
Yeah, I know. That's what I figured.
Yeah, I have an imperial stout on tap, and I have a standard stout on tap right now. So.
Have you had that? What's it called? It's one of these Omni Polo beers. You know those guys?
Oh yeah, I love Omni Pollo. Yeah, they make. They have. I can't remember what the name of it is. Comes in the purple and.
It's like cracker,
graham
cracker.
Yes, that's the same one. That thing is fantastic.
Oh, it's so good, but it's so dangerous.
It is.
So dangerous.
Because you'll sit there and you'll drink one, and you're like, oh, I could have another one of these. Oh, I could have another one of these. And then you go to stand up, and you're like, oh, how many of those did I have?
Here's a quick story of how good of my local is the Woolwich. Yeah, you may not have heard of it, but hopefully, if we ever get the chance again,
right?
You should get up to Guelph and go to the Woolwich. I think people call it the Woolly now, but I'm cranky, so I'm going to keep calling it the Woolwich. And so they had it on. I'm going to tell you a story about how good their bar service is. Their bartenders are my favorite. They're amazing. So I went there. A friend of mine called. He said, "You got to get down here. There's a stout on tap, and you're going to love it." And so I get down there, and I wish we could remember the name of it.
Yeah, I can't. I can't think of what it is. It's got some funky name, and I can't think of what it is.
Edit the name in.
Yeah.
So
there you
anyway,
go.
I was, and so anyway, I'm just joking. He calls me up and says, "You got to come down here and try it." So I get down there and I try it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And I turn to my bartender and I'm like, "I will be drinking this all night long." And my bartender turned to me and he said, "You will not be drinking this all night long." He said, "You will be allowed to drink that one, and then you were going to drink other beers, and then for your last pint of the night, you can drink another one." Because he knew that I would just drink that all night long, and that would be bad.
Detrimental.
I still got drunk, just off two, and then
Yeah.
the few other.
Uh-oh. We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties with Andrew. Oh, lost you there for a second, Andrew.
Am I back?
You are. You froze up for a second. You were saying I was drunk. I just had the two, and then you froze up.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying how good my bar service was. They knew how dangerous this beer was, so that they limited me rightfully.
Rightfully so. Yes, rightfully so. Well, excellent. This brings us to the end of the episode. So I'd like to thank you for joining us, and I'd like to thank anyone who's watching this video for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please click the subscribe button. If you want to be notified when new episodes air, click the little bell. It'll let you know. You can leave any questions, comments, or suggestions for beer styles that you'd like covered in the comments below. And until next time, cheers. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Rob. It's been fun.
It's been fun.